On Wednesday's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Steele Roden and Big Flip Livingstone, we are continuing our countdown of the top 5 Cup contenders with updated Stanley Cup odds, of course, while taking a look at Wednesday's 5-game betting and DFS target board. Only a couple of games left, and we've got some hot picks coming out, so stay tuned and let's stack this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You heard the music, guys, and you know what time it is. It is time for the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Steele Roden and Big Flip Livingstone. We are here every single day, guys, Monday to Friday, feeding you what you need to make some money, stack a little bit of cash in the old pocketbook, and hopefully also earn some bragging rights within your fantasy circles. We are here to feed you winners, and I hope the reboot of this show alongside Steele has been helpful for everyone out there. And thank you for making us your first listen every single day. On today's episode, we are continuing our countdown of the top 5 Stanley Cup threats with updated cup odds, of course, because that's what we do. We are a gambling podcast. We're making picks, selections, DFS targets, as well as all the fantasy advice you need. So make sure you are hitting us up on Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you find your favorite content, you can find Steele and I. On today's episode, my friends, we will also be getting into Wednesday's 5-game betting and DFS board. Of course, picks coming out the wazoo, but let's get right into it, Steele. I say it every day. Top 3 Stanley Cup threats. Yesterday, we were basically on point, the exact same all episode. Hit me with your third selection. Who are you looking at as your top 3?
Yeah, I think the top 3 is definitely going to have a little bit of some more debate for where we have them placed. But for me at number 3, it's the Colorado Avalanche, the actual favorites to win the Stanley Cup this year at plus 375. Yep. I have a couple problems with this team that, of course, they have to be in my top 5 and in my top 3. But there's a couple problems. They haven't made it past the second round in the last 4 years, in the last 4 straight years. They don't do well in the second round, apparently, like a lot of teams. And I've said this before, they have some really serious injury concerns. And I've said this plenty of times before. Again, I'm not completely sold on Darcy Kuemper, especially in the postseason. He doesn't have a great track record. And it's also not the best time for the Colorado Avalanche to go on a 4-game losing streak right now, right before the playoffs. You need your confidence. You want your top guys performing the best of their capabilities. And it's just not the best time to go on a 4-game losing streak.
I knew I liked you, my friend, because everything that you just said there, and I have Colorado at 3 as well. You know, they don't deserve to be in my top 2, in my opinion. And you said all the reasons why. And the main reason for me is because, you know, I can hear the hate coming. The season they've had, the players that they have, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, first place, clear runaway for, President's Trophy winners. I don't give a darn, because when the playoffs start, I'm not hanging my hat on Darcy Kuemper. Not when there's even goalies in the mix this year like John Quick. The Edmonton Oilers have Mike Smith. See ya. I'm taking John Quick all day in that series if it indeed ends up being the Kings and Oilers. Let's not get into all that, because there will be lots of first-round breakdowns, predictions, and picks coming up. But you're spot on, man. Colorado, I think, of course, has some pieces there to make a run. But I don't see it. I don't know what it is. I'm not seeing it this year. I'm liking some other angles. We talked about the Wild and Blues till the cows come home. I would be more comfortable siding there with a much, much, much better odd and better goalies, in my opinion. But hey, that's my third pick. I don't know what you think about the Tampa Bay Lightning at my second pick for plus 1,100, man. I don't know. Like, back-to-back Cup champs at plus 1,100? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there should be another team in there. But the way that they've looked, Steele, over the last 2 weeks, and we know the experience, we know the makeup, and now that bottom 6 is starting to fire on all cylinders. I don't know about you, but this team, to me, other than my number 1, is the odds-on, in my opinion. That's the best odd for the Cup right now. Plus 1,100 Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, and I'll get to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I like everything you said there, but the the team I have at second is the Florida Panthers at plus 500. Again, the second team to have the second favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year. For me, the big question mark is Sergei Bobrovsky. I think that's the big question mark for everybody out there. He has been great in his last 5 starts. He hasn't allowed more than 2 goals, but his 5 previous starts before that, he was absolutely atrocious, really shaky out there. We know that he's a very streaky goalie. He can be red hot and then ice cold in the next game. So for me, he doesn't have a great track record in the playoffs. I think he's only been in the second round once in his entire NHL career. I really like the Florida Panthers up front. Their entire forward group, as well as the top 2 D pairing, they're absolutely incredible. But Sergei Bobrovsky for me is the big question.
Most definitely, because look, and I'm glad we're a little bit different here because I have the Florida Panthers at 1, and mostly just because, and you know this, I was in on the Florida Panthers before they got Giroux. I had a few Florida Panthers for the Cup future bets. Look, their odd has dropped all the way down to, at some places I'm seeing 450, I'm seeing 500, I'm seeing 5 plus 550. I was getting them at 1100 plus 1100 before they got Giroux. I got them at plus 900 right before they signed. And so I have to continue to go with the team that I pegged. But look, what you said is also spot on because Bobrovsky, I said it, swimming, right? Goalies don't look good in there when they're not, they're not framed up right. And Bobrovsky's doing a lot of Peter Mrazek style swimming in there of late. That's a concern for sure. So I'm glad you said that. But hey, if it came down to purely a forward group, I don't think there's a better one in the NHL. That third line has gotten a lot of love from us. Anton Lundell, Mason Marchment, Sam Reinhart. That is a nasty little third line. And those are the kinds of lines, and we've talked about it as well, that can be an X factor the whole line and wreak havoc the entire playoffs because realistically, they're going to get a lot of good matchups and good looks. But hey, plus whatever you get for Florida, at plus 1,100, I know I'm sprinkling on the Tampa Bay Lightning because, man, do they look good.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I have them at my first spot for the odds that they have. I think it's the best odds out there at plus 1,100. For the exact same reason why I have Colorado at my number 3 position is that Tampa Bay is getting hot at the exact right time right now. We said this in yesterday's episode. They absolutely embarrassed the top 2 teams in their division, 8-1 against the Maple Leafs and 8-4 against the Florida Panthers. Vasilevsky, again, is playing absolutely fantastic out there. And you said it yourself. Let's not forget the fact that they are back-to-back champions. And the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Calgary Flames have better odds than the Tampa Bay Lightning right now doesn't make any sense because the Flames and Maple Leafs haven't got out of the first round in 5 straight years. So absolutely ridiculous that Tampa Bay is like the 6th or 7th best team right now to win the Stanley Cup. I think they should be they should be first. That's why I have them at first and at plus 1,100, the best odds out there.
So juicy and so very worth even a $25 bet. My goodness, at that odd, hey, anything can happen. It's playoffs. I'll keep saying that till I'm blue in the face because it's a different season. It's a different beast. But everything that lines up for the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't care. They get the check mark, in my opinion, all the way down to behind the bench and a good coach in John Cooper. I think this Tampa Bay Lightning team is poised to make a nice run, but so are the Florida Panthers. Either way you slice it, there's going to be a really good team left out in the Eastern Conference. Actually, maybe 4 because the Rangers are looking so good. Even Washington's come on a little bit. Of course, you got the Hurricanes. My goodness, all of a sudden, hey, all the power swings to the East, all the big teams in the East. All we know is, Steele, that this is the spot. The Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast is where you want to be tuned in over the next number of weeks while the postseason starts and rolls out. Steele and I got your back with picks, predictions, and nightly breakdown. So make sure you are smashing that subscribe button and do not miss a single minute of fresh playoff content. Speaking of fresh, it's Hellofresh. They deliver pre-portioned ingredients to your door, including farm fresh produce that arrives within a week, so you get the convenience without skimping on the quality. Skip your trip to the next grocery store session and your wait in line, ensuring you don't waste any excess food or money. Customize your dishes with their new Hello Custom offerings by swapping out one protein for another, upgrade to a more luxurious experience, or even add a protein to a veggie meal. That means more choices, more variety, and more meals tailored truly to you. Go to HelloFresh.com/LockedOn16 and use code LockedOn16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. For your next listen, you have to check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. So you don't want to miss out on all the highlights. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast, just like this podcast. So like Flip said, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. So thank you so much for that and for tuning in for today's episode. 5 games on the schedule, like you said, Flip, for DFS selections, a couple of different matchups to choose from. I don't know about you, but the first game was very obvious for me. I'm targeting that Dallas Stars versus Arizona Coyotes game.
Okay.
Both these teams are playing in a back-to-back and both traveling back over to Arizona. So I don't think the traveling is not going to be an issue for either team. They're both going to have to travel there. Yeah. But I'm going with the top line, of course, with the Dallas Stars. Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson are just absolutely ridiculous. I've said this so many times this year.
Yeah.
Hintz has 5 goals, 6 points in his last 4 games, and Robertson has 5 points in his last 4 games. They're really carrying this Dallas Stars team. So I expect them to, continue to hold their ground and finish in that second wildcard spot. Yeah, I'm also throwing Miro Heiskanen in there because he's only 4,400, a lot cheaper than usual. He's been pointless in his last 5 straight games. That's probably the reason why he's this cheap. But I think against the Arizona Coyotes, he can really chip in. And at that price, I would definitely go with Heiskanen.
It's almost like you mentioned exactly when I was thinking, if it wasn't for Hintz and Robertson, where would this Dallas Stars team be? I don't even know, man. Maybe 10 or 12 points out, because those are the 2 players that are the future, maybe along with Jake Ottinger and Heiskanen there in Dallas. And with those 2 guys, you can't go wrong. On fire of late and both having great seasons overall. I'm looking to, guess what? Shocker, the New York Rangers. Yeah. I said it the other night. I think there's value up and down the lineup. Andrew Kopp is red hot right now, but because of his name and limited playing time, can probably still get him at a pretty good value, maybe a bit higher than usual because he is so hot. But even a guy like Frank Vetrano, value there, playing on, getting some top line looks on the regular right now. Artemi Panarin, red hot again. Like, there are so many good options. I'm going up against the Montreal Canadiens at home. This is a tune-up game for the New York Rangers, one that I expect them to win handily. I'm not overthinking things down the stretch here, Steele. Player props on the teams with little bit to play for. That's where I'm going, and that's where I'm going for DFS and big-time bets. Stay tuned for that, of course. But where else are you looking, my friend?
Well, the Rangers game is actually where I went for my goalie option. So whether it's Shesterkin or Georgiev, that's exactly where I'm heading. Nice. I think I would go with Georgiev in net just because it's against the Montreal Canadiens. Maybe rest up Shesterkin for a big first round against the Pittsburgh Penguins, but that's just me. The second game I was actually looking at is the LA Kings versus Seattle Kraken game.
Me too.
I think this is a good place to go with some of their top guys, Adrian Kempe, Philip Deneau. I'm also throwing Trevor Moore in there, who I've talked a little bit about this season as well. Kempe, absolutely fantastic year he's having, a career high 53 points. He's great on both the power play and penalty kill. I think he has 17 power play points and 3 shorthanded goals this season. So absolutely versatile with his game. Philip Deneau, he has 50 points this season. He's close to a career high as well. Maybe he can get there in the last couple of regular season games. But look at Trevor Moore. This is one of the guys I've actually really been impressed with this entire season. It took a long time for him to finally get a crack in the NHL. All those years he was trying to get in the lineup with the Maple Leafs, gets traded to the LA Kings, gets the opportunity, and look at how well he's playing right now. 47 points. 47 points, his career high, which I think is like 30 points over his last career high. But yeah, I've just been really impressed with his game. And then on the blue line, I'm also throwing Matt Roy in there, probably the best defenseman they have in the lineup right now because Drew Doughty isn't there, but he's a very solid blue liner as well.
Hey, don't hate on my boy Sean Durzi, because I love me some Sean Durzi action, and he has been a valuable fantasy asset and eating up a ton of minutes. But I feel you. And also, there's one guy that you didn't mention, and I'm glad you didn't, because he's also having another really good season at 34 years old, soon to be 35. It's Ans Kopitar, man. Holy cow. Almost at the 20-goal mark again at 19, 47 assists. This is his highest output in 4 seasons. This guy is a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. 2-time Cup winner, Lady Byng, 2 Selkies, and having another good year. I'm excited to see what this Kings team can do in the playoffs, Steele, because I really do think a couple of these guys in that lineup, even on the 4th line in Dustin Brown, they are going to be a thorn in the side of whatever team they draw in the first round. And if I'm the Edmonton Oilers and it's shaping up that that's the matchup, I don't like it, and I don't like it one bit, because if they somehow clamp down even one of Draisaitl and or McDavid, that series might be done in 6, in my opinion. Again, my bad for getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm loving your angle here with the Kings because that's also where I was going. Lots of value to be had. That second line in LA has arguably been the best underrated second line all year long, with Arvidsson, Danault, and Trevor Moore in that mix. I don't know if that trio is still together, but it's been good.
They are.
Great second line and great DFS options. Tease, I'm also going to be talking about them LA Kings for big time bets. So why don't we get to it, Steele?
We got a ton of huge matchups for Wednesday night. The Vegas Golden Knights are playing, the Dallas Stars are playing, teams that are still battling for that last wild card spot. Huge night, huge playoff implications. Wednesday night. So definitely keep an eye out for the big time bets, which is coming up very, very soon. But I need to let everyone know about the delicious Built Bars that have come out. Built Bars, they are all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy second. I don't know how they do it, how they pull it off, but they do it every single time. And wow, are these absolutely delicious. Probably for the fact that they're covered in 100% real chocolate. I'm a huge chocolate guy, so it's right up my alley. It contains 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of protein. I have them before I work out, after I work out, pretty much whenever I want. Absolutely delicious. And if you haven't tried the Puffs, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars ever. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow, and they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they too are also covered in 100% real chocolate. The Puffs are a fan favorite right now with some incredible flavors: yummy churro, coconut marshmallow, and banana cream pie. So go to Built.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carbs. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. If you haven't yet, we are also free and available wherever you get your podcasts, which also includes YouTube. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. So thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in for today's episode. Flip, let's get right to it. Big time bets. A lot of money to be made Wednesday night with the 5-game schedule. What is your first pick of the night?
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for teeing me up so nicely. I appreciate that. And hey, I keep going back to some of these player prop bets that have done well for me before. No, it's not a McDavid assist. No, it's not a Sidney Crosby assist. But hey, those have been hitting as well. I'm looking at that Montreal Canadiens and New York Rangers game, Steele, for a few reasons. Number one being the Rangers are looking great right now. Number two being Artemi Panarin was held off the score sheet in his previous game. That game was against the Boston Bruins. He's only been held scoreless, Steele, in back-to-back games, twice all season long. He hasn't gone more than 1 game without a point in 2 months. His last 11 games, just in this month alone, he has 17 points in 11 games. I don't need to say much more because we've said so much about a player that I really do think doesn't get enough credit for his playmaking ability. 96 points this year, Steele. That's a career high. Let me check that. Yes, it is a career high, and I expect that number to continue to go up. Not saying anything else here. Artemi Panarin, anytime assist, going up against the doo-doo Montreal Canadiens that sit in the top 5 in most goals against. Give me that Artemi Panarin money, baby, because that is going to cash. You can bank on that.
He's been absolutely fantastic this year. One of the reasons why I traded for him in my fantasy league. He's been absolutely great for me. My first pick of the night is coming from that Kings game. I'm going to play it safe here. I'm taking the Kings on the money line because they have been in relatively low scoring games the last four. They've won. They're on a 4-game winning streak, I believe. But those have been low scoring games. So I'm not feeling too comfortable taking the puck line, but I think this is a game that the Kings solidify their spot in the playoffs and take down the Seattle Kraken. For my second pick, though, I'm taking the Blackhawks on the money line against the Golden Knights. If the Dallas Stars aren't able to finish the job Tuesday, because we're recording Tuesday right now, so we don't know yet, but if they aren't able to finish the job, I think the Blackhawks will do it for the Dallas Stars Wednesday. And I'm taking the Blackhawks on the money line here.
Blackhawks have been hitting for you lately as well. I think you've taken them a couple times over the last few weeks, and they've cashed for you. So, hey, go back to the well, baby. And why not? Because we talked about that at length. You know, we're getting to the end of the season, so I think almost any angle we've covered, the Golden Knights have not been good enough. Injuries have basically, I think, really crippled them this season.
It's been bad.
I will say this. Sorry, go ahead, my friend.
No, I was just saying the injuries this season to the Vegas Golden Knights have been bad. Probably the reason why they're going to miss the playoffs, but
one of the reasons. Let's leave it at that. But hey, you've mentioned it, LA Kings, baby, and I'm glad that you said it because my lock of the night is from this game, Steele, and my second pick, and I segued a little bit earlier, a little reverse segue. Ons Kopitar, baby. The last 3 games, he has a point in each one, including 2 assists in his last game. He's looking good, Steele. I'll say that. He is looking good. For some reason, I've been watching some LA Kings hockey. Maybe I might sprinkle some futures bet on these guys as well. But I'm just feeling this one here. LA Kings at Seattle Kraken. I'm also taking the Kings on the money line as my lock of the night. I really do think this is shaping up nicely for a first-round upset. You talked about them. You picked them as your upset for the first round. I think this Kings team is going to continue to round into form here. Kings on the money line minus 180 is my lock of the night, but I also love the Ons Kopitar anytime point. 19 goals and 47 assists for 66 points on the year, Steele. How about this? At 35 years old, upcoming 35 years old, he hasn't missed a single game this season. This guy is a true captain, a true leader in that locker room, and I love me some Ons Kopitar. We haven't talked about him at all, and I'm loving this spot. Give me a little double dip on the Kings. Kings money line is my lock at minus 180, and Ons Kopitar anytime point. Let's go.
Absolutely love it. My last pick, my last and lock of the night. If the Blackhawks aren't able to get the job done for the Dallas Stars, I'm hoping the Stars can get it done against the Coyotes because that's my lock of the night. I'm taking the Stars on the puck line. Nice. The last couple of times I've taken the puck line against the Coyotes, they've hit. I believe we did it against when the Washington Capitals played them. It hit for us, and then it hit again the other night as well. So I'm taking the Stars on the puck line. I think, again, like the Kings, if they aren't able to get it done on Tuesday, they'll get it done on Wednesday against the Coyotes and solidify their spot the last wild card spot. Flips, lock of the night, Kings on the money line against the Seattle Kraken. My lock of the night, Dallas Stars on the puck line against the Arizona Coyotes. Pencil it in, lock it in, do what you got to do to sprinkle some money down, get a little extra cash in your pockets, and let's go, baby, because playoffs are right around the corner.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. If you want more gambling advice on what you should pick, but for not just hockey, make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, it's hosted by your boy Q with insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like this podcast right here. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button, do what you got to do, but make sure you follow us. And once you do, you'll get the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as soon as they're available each and every day, Monday to Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Like we say over the last week and a half, you don't want to miss out, especially with the playoffs right around the corner. A ton of content, a ton of bets are going to be coming out, so you don't want to miss out. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.